Good afternoon. It's Tamara Hunter, and today is day number 306 of 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate success through service. And we have a very inspiring and motivational service hero today. Our service hero is Kevin McCrudden. Kevin is someone that I have just recently met. However, quite honestly, I have known about for a long time. He is someone that many of you will probably recognize because he has been able to do something that many of us may think we could do. However, he actually did. And that is, he went out and created a day, a national day after a national event that we were all touched by. He's an energizing bunny, and he is our service hero today. We're going to talk more about everything that you are doing. We already have comments coming in. So I'm going to welcome everybody. We've got Mikey Adam Cohen with us right now. He's the president of my board, Chemo Buddies for Life. Welcome, Mikey. And we got to motivate America. That's right. We are motivating America. And he is excited about today's show. And yes, Mikey is one of the finalists with the next Impactor competition too. I was just telling Kevin about it. However, he's actually on my team. Wink, wink. Thank you, Mikey. And we have Helene. Helene is one of our Chemo Buddies for Life. Thank you. Actually, one of my Chemo Buddies for Life. Thank you for being with us, Helene. Let's get to it. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, Tamara, how are you?
I'm doing great, and I have to say I'm even doing better just in the time that we had to visit. You in studying and learning about you, one thing that you said is that you have an energy that is like, that, and I loved what you said also about when you are a speaker and you're in front of a group, that you go in there with this energy and you want to be tired at the
Absolutely.
end of it because you want to transfer that energy and inspiration to the audience. And
Absolutely.
You know what? I felt that before we went live, and so I'm actually very energized. So thank you. I hope you're not tired yet.
Good. I'm absolutely not. Just getting started.
Okay, good. So let's talk. I didn't want to give up, if you will, the national day you were able to create and how you created it, because I want to talk about that. It's pretty spectacular as far as I'm concerned. And it's something I told you, I recognized you. And when you reached out, and he actually reached out because he was interested in the way that the show is done, right?
Absolutely. And you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. And I was like, I know who he is. So I went in there and I'm like, yes, it is who I thought it was. And so then it was like, how would you like to be on my show?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Well, thank you. So talk to us and tell us about what inspired you to actually do the work to create a national day.
Well, I think part of it is, and thank you so much for having me on the show, Tamara. And you're doing a wonderful job, and I love your energy, and I love all the things that you've done in order to create your movement and where you're going. So for me, it was the reaction to 9/11, and those of us here in New York, while the entire country was impacted, and literally the entire world was impacted by that. In New York, a lot of us were impacted directly by family and friends that were in the buildings. And I had a brother that was in the building. We lost a lot of friends. I have my best friend, his stepbrother died in 9/11. There's a lot of influence and impact. And I had run for office back in 1997. I had become friendly with a number of people, and one of them was a Congressman, Felix Grucci. And I presented him with the idea of saying, hey, listen, what if we created a day called National Motivation and Inspiration Day, January 2nd, where we really encouraged people to become more motivated and inspired. And it wasn't something that was caused by a national tragedy or something that was horrible, but rather something that we intentionally do on an annual basis and establish goals for ourselves, try to achieve at a higher level, because we want to, not because we have to, not because there's this terrible incident that's occurred that's made us react. So being proactive as opposed to reactive. And that's why I created National Motivation and Inspiration Day. I had it passed by the United States Congress, and then I had it passed by New York State. And in New York State, it's actually Motivation and Inspiration Month in January.
Okay, that makes sense, because I realized that, okay, the kickoff day is January the 2nd, and it makes total sense why January the 2nd, because right. January the 1st, of course, New Year's Day. And right. And yes, you know, in fact, when I was doing some of the research on you and catching up on what you're doing, I thought, okay, yeah, you mentioned how so many people, they have the New Year's goals. However, how far do they, you know, resolutions. Well, I call them a goal because I'm a goal-oriented kind of person, right. You know, so I actually do work my goals. However, you were saying, you know, and you were on multiple years after years where you're talking about this and saying how many days into January do people give up on their resolutions, you know, and
it's by the end of January, 85% of people actually drop their New Year's resolutions or the goals that they've established for the year. 85%.
Wow, that's a staggering number. Well, and so the idea that there's, and so then I did see, okay, that it was the kickoff day to a month. And I'm thinking, I know about the day. I didn't know about the month. So now that makes sense because it's in your home state and the state of where the, you know, the two buildings were affected. Well, the multiple buildings were affected and ground zero there. And so I'm ever so curious, because I'm a very, very curious kind of sort. And I'm thinking, okay, how did you do it? You know, yes, you have friends, but then you have to go before Congress, right? Did you have to do the whole lobbying thing, or how did that work?
Well, that was the beauty of it, Tamara, is that period in time, it really was a no-brainer. And the idea of something so positive coming out of something so tragic. And, you know, once again, I'll leave it to my Congressman, Felix Grucci, at the time. He introduced it in committee. And he literally, when I told him about it, and his staff, they were like, oh, no-brainer. They presented it to the committee. And this is the process of a bill or legislation. So they passed it in committee. Committee was like, oh, it's done. So I introduced it in, you know, I guess the beginning of January, and it was passed almost immediately. So what ended up happening was it was something that made sense, and people immediately thought it was a good idea. So that's what made it, I guess, successful, right? Is that people thought it was a great idea and introduced it. And I think that's where we were talking previously. We'll come back to it, but I think that sense of leadership, that sense of doing the right thing, its time has come again. This is my first interview in almost 3 years. I went through a tragic loss, lost, you know, a wife and best friend and family and kids and dogs and that whole thing. So this is literally my first interview in 3 years. And I am relaunching Motivate America. I'll be relaunching Motivate America 2020. And really excited about that because I think it's once again, time for some new leadership.
And thank you for, first of all, thank you for coming on the show. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm very honored, actually, that this is the first time in 3 years that you've been on a show, because I know that you have been interviewed on all, you know, on so many of the major shows out there, that you have been a contributor here, there, and everywhere. You have people calling you and contacting you for opinions, and you came on my show. So, you know, and it's so fitting as far as I'm concerned, because you are truly what epitomize a service hero. And when I explained it to you, I hope that I did that well, because I do believe that we all have a service hero inside of us. And Kevin, the reason that I started the show is because of my Chemo Buddies for Life, that because we support people that are affected by cancer, both the patient and those people that love and support them. And so when some of my stage 4 buddies were starting to give up because of the bad news that's out there. I mean, you can find the bad news everywhere. And if they don't have a lot of hope, they can give up. And if you're battling stage 4 cancer and you give up, you've given up. And so I thought, okay, how do I do this where it's not in their face? However, give them, I have met so many amazing, wonderful people doing great things. And so I started the Service Hero Show. And at first, my buddies didn't quite understand it. However, now they show up and they love it.
Because Tamara, that's what inspiration is about. And what you're taking for granted is that service thing that you're calling inside your heart. And I never want anyone to confuse that I somehow served, whether it be in the military or NYPD or FYP. That's not the kind of service you're talking about. But listen, that thing that you feel in your heart, that compelling thing, that's what I call the light, the ignition, the thing that lights a fire inside of you, the inspiration. When people get inspired and live an inspired life like you're living now, that's what it's about. Because once you light that thing inside of you, you can see it in your face. You can see it in your energy. You love what you're doing. And you know what? That's contagious. And for you to be doing it, and I almost feel bad. Look, I had a terrible divorce, and it really tore me down and destroyed my life. We're talking about people that are fighting for their lives with stage 4 cancer. We're talking about people that are literally fighting for their lives. And you know what? You're inspiring people to say, hey, look, there's a reason to keep going. You got to keep fighting. You got to keep going every day. And you know what? God bless you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Well, you know, and this is where I believe that's why I love and your show number 306, because there are so many amazing people like you, like myself, like Mikey Adam Cohen, like many amazing people that are out there. And if we all do a little bit, we can accomplish a lot of good. And That's what your whole message is with your day that you went and got approved by Congress. And you actually have a number for that day, right?
There is. There's actually, when someone passes a resolution, there is actually a bill associated with it. So, and by the way, hey, Mikey, good luck to you as well as Tamara on your contest. I think she's winning, bud, but that's okay. Never mind. But anyway, and because you forgot to wear white, that's why.
Oh, that's right. Look at
that. Yes. There we go. The white show. But anyway, so yeah, so when you have a bill passed, it has a legislative number, and that's what was passed. Yeah.
So, okay, so this is so interesting to me, because I know that there's many people like myself, to be honest, that know that there are areas that we serve that and serve like in, you know, not in a professional role, however, in a citizen type of a role, right? And we can see that there are possibly motivation and inspirational days needed, or that there needs to be changes made in some of our laws. And we have that opportunity, being American citizens, to say, hey, you know what? Maybe you don't know that we need to educate you, because there are some laws on the books that are not serving our community well. And how about if we talk about it? And how about if we make some changes? And that's the beauty of our system. And you have been able to witness it and have friends in it. And that's why I am so thrilled to have you on the show, because I do believe that you are going to encourage many others like myself to say, hey, you know what? Pick up the phone, make a contact, let them know, because they want to hear from us, correct?
Absolutely. I think the other piece of it too is what you're doing is you're using the power of the internet. The power of the internet's global. Look, when we look at a poor woman like Rosa Parks, who had no internet, had no power, had no authority, she was a servant leader. She was someone who was passionate about making a change, and she sat on a bench in the front of a bus and said, I'm not moving. And she created a movement that changed America. You know, you look at Mother Teresa, a woman who, like, her nature was to serve. So being a servant leader, you can make a difference. And it's about your own passion. Look, for those of us that are inspired, that are energized, that are enthusiastic about making a difference in the world, a positive change in the world, there's a lot of bumps. There's bumps in the road. There's bumps for ourselves, our own personal belief systems, our own personal beliefs in ourselves, our self-esteem. Those are things that are impacted that sometimes prevent us from having the energy we need in order to be successful. And that's why, to your point, I'm number 306, but I'm number 306 out of 3 million or 300 million The reality is there's so many people
Yes.
out there that are trying to make a positive change in the world. And the more of us that are listening to each other and feeling like, hey, you know what, Tamara's doing it, Kevin's doing it, Mikey's doing it, there's other people that are doing it, you know what, I can do it. Let me follow their lead. Let me create a video program. Let me create a podcast. Let me go speak to my congressman, or let me go speak to my senator. You know what, I want to make a change because I believe in it that passionately. And that's how change occurs.
Absolutely. In fact, we have Mark Green right now, and he's loving the conversation. And he is actually a retired military man that it's interesting because I have had him as a service hero. And at first it was almost like, I'm not a hero. And I'm like, well, let me explain what I think, a service hero is. And I had to have that conversation with him. And he is out there helping to support a whole community of military veterans. And so thank you for being here, Mark. And I hope you are continue to see that this is a fascinating conversation. I'm believing it is. And Helene.
Hey, Mark, God bless. Thanks for being with us, Mark.
Yes.
And thanks for all you've done and all you do.
He's an incredible man. His story is incredible, and he's written a book about it, and he's doing some amazing things for many that need his service. Right. And then we've got Helene saying, thank you, Tamara, for all that we're doing for Chemo Buddies. We have also, Mark is saying it is a super great feeling. Kevin's point is well stated. And then we have one of the Chemo Buddies for Life ambassadors here with us. And so, I'm glad that we've got people stopping in and that are all collectively out there serving others. And so thank you all. All right, so let's continue in talking about all of this, because you are a motivational speaker. You, of course, have gone out there. You've created a day. You have multiple books and programs that you've created over a period of time. And as we've already discussed, you have a lot of energy. I want to talk about let's go into your book, and then I want to go into what it is that you're about to relaunch. Your book is very, very fascinating. And when you were talking about it on one of the videos, you were like, okay, like the Who, like who are you? Who are you? You that you can, the very best that you can be. And I love this because it's something that I always am thinking about, is that I had 3 special needs kids, and having 3 as they were growing up, I knew that I could not, and we can't ever compare ourselves to anybody else. However, in this situation, it was really something that I had to let them know from the very get-go that, don't even think about that. It's all about who you are, and I want you to be the best that you can be. And by golly gee willikers, I am your mother, so I have a kind of an idea of what we're talking about here. So if you try to slack a bit, I'll get it, I'll know it. However, I am never going to expect you to be anybody that you are not. And so when I saw this, I thought, ooh, this is so cool. So tell us about this, because you've got like some interesting graphic going on, and you want to explain?
Well, listen, Tamara, God bless you and your challenges and the way you address them in your life. The reality is that for so many people, they allow little things, they sweat the small stuff, and they allow that to destroy their lives. Whereas you faced real challenges of developing people and trying to understand them. So you're understanding your appreciation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and my 21st century multiple hierarchy of needs, or multidimensional hierarchy of needs, is unique because you understand how to develop human beings. And really that's all Maslow was talking about, is in his one-dimensional model, which I came across many times throughout my years of doing management, leadership, and sales training programs. It bothered me that it was one-dimensional. And the more I read about it, the more it was like, well, wait a second. How can a one-dimensional model represent the complexity of a multidimensional life? Right. And it just never made sense. So I was writing a book, and I felt like my chapter was my book. And when I spoke with a professor from Harvard, Arthur C. Macaulay, I presented it to him and he said, Kevin, this is a genuinely unique way of viewing Maslow, and you really should publish this on your own. So once again, another person that I reached out to said, no, 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 you have what it takes. Do this on your own. You don't need to have it published with other people. So that gave me the courage to say, okay, I'll do it on my own. So when we look at the fundamental needs of human beings, it's, just essentially air, oxygen, food, water, and a shelter. That's the basic need. We all know that. However, when we start to go up the level of needs, the next one being safety. Look, after 9/11, the entire world changed in our level of safety. Our understanding of what safety was, because now people felt insecure, uncertain. The next level, when we start to think about belonging or being a part of something, well, we are essentially pack animals. So as pack animals, we have a need, a fundamental or basic need to belong or to be a part of something. And then after that, there's this sense of belonging or esteem. When we establish a sense of esteem, that's when we feel like we're advancing, we're growing within a society or within a community, whether it be within our church or within our community or within a team or within an organization. As we gather esteem, we feel like we're growing. And then finally, the highest level being self-actualization, fulfillment, feeling like we're fulfilled as human beings. But here's the analogy that I put in my book. Look, it's like looking at an 18-year-old child who physiologically is beautiful, whether it be male, female. Their abs are perfect, their body's perfect, they've worked really hard to take care of themselves, they look beautiful. But they're a C student, they're financially broke, and they're morally broke. So it becomes, look, those other dimensions of their lives still need to grow. So it isn't one-dimensional. It isn't like you've reached self-fulfillment and that's it. It's you can have fulfillment in one dimension, but there's other dimensions you can continue to work on. So that's the book, in becoming the very best that we can be.
I love it that you did this, because you know what I'm thinking. Okay, it's just like playing chess. You have chess, right? And then you have three-dimensional chess, right? And so then you think about it. It's like, okay, because life it depends on what eyes you're looking through too. Are you seeing it for the layers of, if you will, the onion, or are you just seeing it with the outer peel?
The superficial piece, sure,
right.
Sure.
Right. And so that deeper thinking, that the deeper levels of thinking, because this is where, and I'm excited about, because it's coming together, guys. I think that you're probably all seeing it too. We've got a lot of engagement going on. So we'll go to it in a moment. Is that when you have an inspirational day, you're out there speaking about motivation, you're a leadership expert, that you are the CMO, the Chief Motivational Officer, right? Many call you that. That's like,
well, it's funny how that came about. I was at an event. I was speaking, and one of the announcers was introducing me. So he introduced the fact that the name of my company is Motivate America. He introduced that I introduced to Congress National Motivation and Inspiration Day. There's Motivation and Inspiration Month in New York. That I created the American Motivation Awards. And one of the people in the front row was like, this guy's like Mr. Motivation. He's like the chief motivation. And I was like, oh man, I love that. I was like, can I steal that? And she was like, okay. And I was like, guess what? I'm stealing it. So that's how it came about.
I love it. And isn't that the way that a lot of really great things happen? It's just organically, it's like, okay, wow, whoa, the light goes on. And it can be in those moments of time, because, it's like the universe has a way of presenting things, and it's like, okay, when that moment in time is supposed to be, it will be. And so obviously that it's so catchy and it makes so much sense and it goes along with the day, and it's like, how could it not be the right, like totally,
That just kind of worked out that way. But yeah, I mean, look, for all of us, we know marketing and branding is important. And the idea of being America's Chief Motivation Officer, CMO, it really was catchy. And there's actually a couple of other quote unquote Mr. Motivations out there that are, they wear floral, sort of Florida, tropical shirts and all that sort of stuff. And their message isn't really there. Look, one of the things that you introduced the idea that I'm a motivational speaker. What I like to coin myself as actually a motivational leadership speaker, and this is why. For those of us that are a little bit older, so you probably wouldn't remember this, but Chris Farley did a program on Saturday Night Live where he imitated a motivational speaker, and his whole thing was that he lived in a trailer down by the water. So I think literally anyone that's over 40 that thinks about a motivational speaker thinks like, oh, it's some guy that lives down in a trailer by the water. So Chris Farley ruined the whole idea of being a motivational speaker, although there are thousands of them. So I really position myself as a motivational leadership speaker because I've conducted motivation management leadership programs for 20 years. So a little bit different.
Well, thank you for thinking that I wouldn't know who that is. Wink, wink, guys.
What, you're 39, right?
Yeah, and holding.
I love that. Aren't we all? I love that.
It's all relative. I don't even think about what my chronological age is. I'm too young in spirit, there you go. Good so, all right. So let's continue. Mm-hmm. You in 2002, it would have been that you had a day approved.
Actually, it was 2001. So it was still 2001, yeah.
Oh, so it was still 2001. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had it approved. Okay, that makes sense. And so then the first motivational day took place January 2nd, 2002.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're out there, you're encouraging people, you're out there with the motivation and the leadership ability to say, okay, let's do this, guys. Let's turn the negative around. Let's find the energy, because anybody that was alive during that time and doing anything remembers that energy needed to be harnessed and put back into a good place and going forward. And so this was a sorely needed program. So you were asked to be on a variety of different, I just picked some of the images. You've been on all sorts of news programs over the years, podcasts, radio shows, featured here, there, and everywhere. And as that was continuing, you continued to evolve and add to your repertoire a motivational, like, I love this, motivation in a box.
Yeah.
And I think of Jack in the Box. I'll be honest with you. It's like, okay, motivation in a box. I'm curious. Let's talk about that. What is motivation in a box?
So I introduced that, I think, in 2009 or 10. And so I went through a period of 3 years where I actually wrote my book, wrote 7 audiobooks, and I was really sort of prolific at the time, and I was speaking and teaching and doing all sorts of stuff and doing some coaching. So I really was like energized. And so I was like, wait a second, it'd be great to be able to put this in a box. So I thought, wait a second, motivation in a box. I went and looked out, and there was no one that had motivation in a box. I was like, guess what? I'm doing motivation in a box. So that was it. So I put everything in there. So a PDF of my book is in there. My 6 other audiobooks are in there, as well as a guide, an annual guide and calendar. So, so there's literally everything is in motivation in a box.
I love it. Okay, I got to catch up on everybody, because we've got people talking to each other even, because it ends up being a bit of a party here at the Service Hero Show, because we have and I love it, and I'm grateful that everybody does do this, because we have chemo buddies that come in, and some of them are actually maybe even shut-ins at a time, because when you're going through, I was a shut-in when I had to go through my therapy, my chemo, because I did do traditional, and so I think about them, and then we have a lot of the influencer friends, and then they get to know each other, and we throw the ambassadors in, and then others, friends and family, and we've got them all sharing. So Mikey is saying you're right on point, and
Thanks,
then let's see, we've got Michelle. Michelle, hi, Michelle. Yes, you are amazing. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yes, she is. Yes, she
well,
is.
thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate that. And then I believe that the lower level needs have to be satisfied before higher needs can be
Yes.
influenced.
Yes, that's
Absolutely.
right, Mike.
Yep. And Mikey's a very deep thinker, and thank you for sharing that, sweetheart. Okay, so then we've got Helene that's talking to the ambassadors, and everybody's like saying hello. Oh, we've got Joel Peterson is in the house.
Hoorah!
Hoorah! Yes, he's served our nation well, and he is helping other veterans that are struggling now, and he has a whole movement that is serving them. And so thank you for your service, Joel, and what you are doing. Mikey's like, boom, he really liked what you had to say. And then Helene is like, she's 29.
Yeah, I was 10 years off. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you are sweet. You are sweet. I just love you. Okay. And then very cool idea. So thank you, Mark, for being here still. I appreciate you all very much. So let's continue. All right. So yes, I love the idea. Motivation in a box. And
could we all use that? For Christmas.
Because I'm thinking all the time of, okay, I always think of how can you play on words, and so motivation in a box, but don't put me in a box. Okay. Yep, so then it's like, okay, Tamara in a box. No, not in a box, but motivation in a box. No.
Tamara out of the box.
Yeah, exactly. Motivation out of the box. And so that is just so much fun. Brilliant. Good job. Okay. So now you like to start the year off with a bang. And for many, many years, in fact, it's so much fun. You guys got to do some research on Kevin, because it's so much fun. He's entertaining. He's got the energy of an energizing bunny, and intelligent, and great content. And so as I was watching some of your stuff, there was one video that had like, okay, it's 2000 whatever, and then it's maybe 2 more years after that, and then it's 3 years after that, and it's like bullet, and it's like almost the same thing though. And it's like, okay, guys, let's engage now. Let's engage. It's the beginning of the year. Let's engage. Let's do something different. Let's make it happen. We can make it happen together, right? And you're coming up with a new campaign for this next year, aren't you? Why don't you tell us all about that?
So the same idea, I think, behind 9/11 and the Creational National Motivation and Inspiration Day, Tamara, was the idea that there was so much negativity, but there was so much positive, and the positive was being overlooked. So being in New York, I mean, we had literally tens of thousands of volunteers. We had first responders and fire departments and police departments from as far as Missouri and DC coming to New York to help, to do anything they could to serve our community. People in the community were saying, look, what can I do to help? Well, why in the hell does it take a catastrophe for people to react that way? And now what we have 20 years later is we have and I won't call it just a political culture or a political environment, but our political leaders are creating the divided states of America. They're turning people against each other. People are almost hateful towards each other. They call each other names. They can't even talk or listen to people of different belief systems. There is a group of people that are like, you're intolerant, you have to accept other people, and they won't accept people because they're conservative. And it's like, wait, can you hear the hypocrisy in how you're speaking? So what's happened is, unfortunately, our political leaders have created a culture of, unfortunately, of hate, So for 2020, right, they say that hindsight is 2020. So I will be relaunching Motivate America as Motivate America 2020. And I will be talking to some of the greatest leaders in America, some of the greatest leaders in our industry, in the motivational thought leadership industry. But I will also be speaking to thought leaders, political leaders, people that are leading and making change to do the right thing in America, not trying to create divisiveness, not trying to make people go against each other, but to understand how we motivate and inspire each other and accept each other, regardless of your belief. I don't care if you're a Republican, a conservative, an independent, a liberal. Unfortunately, progressive isn't actually progressive because it's very divisive. It's understanding people. And that's what I want. I want to create a movement where people accept and understand. Quit the divisiveness. And I'm tired of seeing the divided states of America, frankly. And that's why I'm relaunching Motivate America 2020, because hindsight is 2020. And we'll talk about the lessons learned and the things that we can do to lead and change America in a new direction.
I love it. I love it. I love everything about it because, one of the things that, I will say, because when you are starting anything that's this big, whenever you're thinking about something that will become a movement, you have to think, okay, you have to be responsible about it. You've got to think how, who, where, what, when, all of the things there. And so when I was starting the nonprofit, one of the things that was the most important to me, and I had to actually stand up and make some tough choices because it was so important, is that there would be no discrimination, that it didn't matter because we're global. It didn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter what your beliefs are. It doesn't matter what, if you're polka dot, it doesn't matter, any of it. If you or anybody you know and love ever heard those three words, then you qualify, and that is the qualifier. If you're going to come in and hurt anybody, then of course you're out of the community. But other than that, and so then you have to be able to stand on that. And that's not always the easy thing to do. And I've been thinking a lot about that, because to be in a public servant kind of a role, which our political leaders are meant to be. That's what the idea is. That's what the intention of our founding fathers here in the United States. And not always now are they willing to stand up, because there's a lot of issues with the lobbying, and there's a lot of issues with so many different things, right? Huge issues. And so I love the fact that something so simple, if you will, keeping it simple in the fact of 2020, that's fun. That's another one. Okay, thinking of the fun stuff, Motivation in the Box 2020. Okay, fun stuff.
I'm getting there, Tamara. I'm getting there.
Yeah, you're good. You're good, Kevin. Okay, so 2020, and creating it, and so that people can say, oh, wow, I can get behind this, because you know what? You're right. We don't need to be fighting with each other. We don't need to not like each other. We don't need to be picking on each other. We do not need this any longer. It doesn't serve any of us well. And so then, if if you will, if the masses, if each one of us says, you know what? I'm done with this. I don't want this hate to be going around. It doesn't do anything except for drag us all down. If we can bring it back to being united, if we can bring it back to what it was meant to be.
Tamara, what you do, which is excellent, is, look, you've chosen a category that you had a personal experience in, right? So, and to your point, when you hear those three words, which I've never heard, right, is for the people that have heard you have cancer, and you've had to go through that challenge, that battle, that life-altering challenge, then you know what? You're reaching out to people saying, look, if we work together, we can help you. We've had the experience. We know how it feels, and we can help you through it. With 9/11, we had people from outside of America attack us.
Right.
So we were able to turn our anger and our venom towards something outside of America and say, no, man, you're not doing that to us. So there was an outside force. but now what's happened is we've turned that force against ourselves.
Right.
And that's the thing is it isn't that it's easy when you have an outside force to focus on, but when you can focus all of your energy on something negative away from you, then it's not so bad. What's happened the past 10 years is our energy has been focused internally and it's become very divisive. And that's where it needs to change. That's where leadership and certainly people brighter and more talented and more articulate than I am need to help raise the bar. And people like you, people that are really, really focused on the well-being of human beings, that's it. That's the energy that we need. Those are the things, those are the type of people that we need. And to your point, honoring people that are service people, service-oriented, people that have service in their heart, that's what we need to not only change America, but change the world, because we are becoming a global community. It will change the world.
So, okay, so what, I'm curious, your vision now. Okay, so 2020, of course, you're looking, I love that. But looking forward, let's switch the 2020 around, and for perfect vision, looking forward into the future. What do you see for the next 5 years? Like 5 years from now, what would your goal for this, your launch, what will it look like?
I think the most important thing is that people become more aware of self, right? So I think emotional intelligence is an incredibly important piece of it. So people become more self-aware. So you become aware of your language, right? So there becomes less bigotry, less vulgarity, less accusations, less calling people names, being less judgmental, feeling like you're in a position to judge others because your belief is somehow better than others. That's the beauty of politics or religion. Is, you know what, you can't tell me your religion's better than my religion, because you know what, if we both believe in God, who are you to tell me that your religion actually trumps what I believe? And you know what, in America, for us to continually think that we live a better life and we somehow are better than other people in the world, you know what, people that live in other countries have patriotism too, and they believe that their country is great. So you know what, if we treat them with respect, we treat them with dignity, we treat them with the way that we want to be treated, right? Once again, we come back to the golden rule. No surprise, we always come back to the golden rule, right? So when we treat people that way, when we speak to people that way, when we're respectful of people, I think that is what changes the world. That is what changes people. So what my goal or my objective is for the next 5 years is to take the initial idea of Motivate America and National Motivation Inspiration Day, setting goals, obtaining goals at the beginning of the year. What I want to do is I want to invite you and I want to invite any motivational leadership speaker in America that is published. I want to deal with at least one person in every single state. I want to have every state adopt National Motivation and Inspiration Day. I'm going to be working with the governor's offices of every one of the 50 states. I want to have local representatives in every state. I want every single body of legislation to start January 2nd with what are our goals this year? What are we trying to achieve? So each state has a state of the state typically.
Right, yes.
So what are they? What do you want to achieve? And at the end of the year, if you don't achieve them, if you don't go through the checklist and say, hey, look what we achieved this year, then you know what? You failed. Let's start focusing on how we succeed and fail in serving our communities, because that's what the job is. That's what you're elected to do, and not run up taxes and not take money from people and not, it's about trying to create change that creates positive results for our society. That's what our political leaders should be doing, and being less divisive. So I know it's a big goal, but that's it.
Okay, sorry to step on your words, but I'm getting excited about this. So are you going to run for office?
Never. I ran in 1997, and I lost because of politics, dirty politics, and I never really recovered from that. And that was one of the reasons, and another reason why I created National Motivation and Inspiration Day. We don't need to be elected officials in order to create change. As a matter of fact, I think we can create more change without being politically elected officials. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So, no, I'll never run.
Because I'm sure the others were thinking the same thing, like, okay, I could get behind this guy.
No, I'm never going to run. I'm sorry. I'm never going to run.
No, but you're right. I have family that has the same opinion, and because yeah, a whole different topic.
And look what you're doing. You're making change without being an elected official. You elected yourself. You elected yourself to make change in the world. And guess what? That's what we all need to do. Elect yourself. Right. Oh, wait a second. Maybe that's another one. Maybe you should do that one. Elect yourself to make a change.
Oh, I like that.
Difference. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. A present. I just got a present, guys.
Elect yourself.
Elect myself. Okay. Elect yourself. I love that. Elect yourself. So as we start to wrap this up, and in fact, before we do, let's see, I want to make sure that we're up on top of every of the comments. Mindset in a box. Doing it now. The mindset. I love this. The mindset vet. Yes. Yes. Mark, I'm so glad you're here. Okay. And then Mikey.
Bang boom.
Bang boom. He's hilarious. Yes, he is hilarious.
Mikey, by the end of this, you're going to have 4 or 5 of those. Bang.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Mikey's fun because he comes from the musical world, and he's a musical influencer and very well known throughout the world in certain categories, and he's funny. He's always funny. Okay, and then Helene, Kevin, thank you for all you do in your life. Yes, and then and you know, I love this, and we've been getting they're involved with hearts and thumbs ups and all of the good stuff that comes on engagement. So thank you for commenting, everybody. Please remember to hashtag live and hashtag replay.
Hey, God bless you, and God bless all the people that are on their journey in the cancer journey. God bless you, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you for saying that. And I'd like to include any of our buddies that are support buddies, some of our support buddies, because we have support buddies, the people that love and care for those that have cancer. Some of our support buddies, their cancer patient is no longer here in this world. They have moved beyond. However, they are still our buddies because they stay with us in our community. So I want to recognize them too that are here. All right. So as we start to wrap this up.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to get going in a second here. So.
Yes. You've been very generous with your time. I just want to give you one last moment to give us any kind of, you mentioned some of the great motivational individuals, and you yourself have such a gift with words, have a gift with the way that you think, and I'd love to see, and of course being a motivational leadership and inspirational speaker, what kind of pearls of wisdom, what kind of a nugget would you like to leave us all with?
Look, Tamara, you're doing it. You're living an inspired life, and I think for anyone that listens to you and watches your show, not only being included in your movement towards helping people with cancer, but what is it that inspires you? I think God's gift to all of us is finding the thing that motivates and inspires us inside, the thing that we would do for the rest of our life, even if it was for free, the thing that we truly feel is our gift to do. And sometimes we get tripped up, and as I had said, listen, this is my first interview in 3 years. I believed something so strongly. I believed in this person. I believed in this family. I gave so much. And when I had it ripped away from me, it destroyed me. It literally destroyed me. And you know what? There are going to be challenges for all of us that we have to get through. We have to be able to really find. So you know what? I came back to exactly who I am. Because the reality is I had people say, Kevin, you were Mr. Motivation and Motivate America before her or them or that. You have to get back to who you are. And what happens is we're tested. We're tested, and what we do is we come back to what we truly are, and we have passion for it. That's the thing we should really use to make a difference in the world. And I encourage every single person that's listening to you, Tamara, is to listen to your energy, your passion, your engagement, the excitement you have, but then find that in your own life. Find the thing that makes you inspired. Here's the challenge. We're pushing so hard for people to be leaders. You know what? It's okay to say, I follow Tamara and I want to make a difference because I love what she's doing and I want to be a servant to someone with cancer. I've gone through cancer and I just want to help a person get through because I know how hard it is, right? That's good enough. That's leading a life that's influential, that's powerful, and will influence other people's lives. Listen, there's so many people that want to be leaders and they can't even lead their own lives. The reality is let's stop focusing on leading. Let's focus on living a purposeful, divine, gracious life where we can really truly enjoy each other, enjoy our lives, and in the end say, that God's blessings and God's grace has been given to us, and that we feel great about what we've done with our lives. Because in the end, when we get to the last chapter, the last page, I'm thinking all of us are just going to say, hey, how did I do?
Exactly.
all these things you gave me, how did I do?
Right. How did I do? Beautiful. Very well said. Well, Kevin, as we close today on day number 306 of 365 Days of Awesome, celebrate success through service. You indeed are a service hero. You are someone that is inspirational, motivational, and you do lead by example. And in your words of encouragement for all of us, I know that you are inspiring many to be able to find that servant leader that they are inside, whatever that might be and whoever that might be. So at the end of their chapters, they can also say, how did I do? So thank you. Thank you for your time today.
God bless you, Tammy. You're awesome. I think you're really awesome. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Well, thank you. You're awesome too. So thank you. Everybody go out there and make it a great Sunday, what you have left of it. Enjoy your family, friends, and make it a great day. Bye.
God bless. Thanks, Tamara. Bye.
Thank you.